You already know what it is, what's going on. It's none other than your boy, Coach Anthony, and we got the fastest human being ever, Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how come it only says Eddie there? How come it doesn't say Eddie Chambers? Like, why don't you put your that's like you're like let the people know what's up, man. Talk to me, man.
I'll fix it next time, yo. I'm ready to do that shit right now, yo.
You're like, man, y'all know who I am. I don't gotta put my last name on there. Y'all know who the hell I am. You know what I'm saying? We got fast.
That's because I'm dealing with that's because I'm dealing with Coach Ant. That's why they know.
You feel me? You feel me? But yo, hold on. Before we get started, y'all already know how I do. I always gotta take care of my people and go ahead and do that CA Power Hour and get 75% all the courses. A lot of people talk about the super chat, and I appreciate when people hook it up with the super chat. But I would really appreciate it more if you went to the website, got a course, because I want you to get something more for your money. And right now, at 75% off, that means a $100 course is $25, Eddie. How cheap is that? For all the years of education that we done gave a guy, they're going to get it for $75. That's a Black Friday sale. I'm basically doing that just for you guys tuning in, being part of this live. And, of course, once the live is done, the sale is gone. So that's why it's the CA Power Hour. Whether I'm on here for an hour, 2 hours, is rocking out for the rest of the live. And that's it. But, Eddie, we got a lot to talk about, man. We got a lot to talk about. I was supposed to go live weekly and talk about what's happened the week before. But as you know, I was in Miami. And we were out there for the Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul event. I went out there. It was super live, a super dope trip. I had a great time. And it started off with a bang. You know what I mean? It started off with a bang. So I went down, I was doing a little bit of the media stuff. A lot of people know that I like to do the media stuff, you know what I mean? And went over there. And while we was doing the media stuff, you know what I mean? I walked up in there and you had everybody on there. You had Swift Heard on there, you know what I'm saying? We had Badu Jack. Big shout out to Badu Jack and everybody on that team. Those are good friends of mine. You had you didn't have Logan Paul there that day, but you had Ocho Cinco on the stage, you know what I mean? Chad Johnson. You had his opponent, Brian Maxwell. So, it was a dope show or whatever. And it started off with a bang because while I was sitting there and I was, chopping it up and asking questions or whatever, I noticed that Chad Johnson was in the corner and he wasn't saying nothing. And then when they did talk to him, he was real, just super quiet, super humble. And I don't got a problem with that. So for the record, for everybody out there who's like, yo, Ant, why did you step to him on that? The truth of the fact of the matter is I just wanted to talk to and shed some light on what he was doing. And I just wanted to bring up a point, you know what I'm saying? Because we all know that Chad Johnson had a very strong personality as a football player. He used to come out there and talk a little bit arrogant or whatever the case may be. I didn't follow him that much, but I know a little bit about his background. So I went ahead and asked him. And he didn't really like that too much. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really like that. He wasn't feeling it. And he actually challenged me to a fight. He was like, yo, what's your name? Who do you work for? And I let him know real quickly, yo, I don't work for nobody. I work for myself. And, he ended up challenging me to a fight. So, me, I got super excited. I'm like, yo, this is I've been waiting for. What's crazy was I'm not really the opportunity I've been waiting for because I haven't thought about boxing in years. You know what I mean? Since I stopped eating years ago. But a guy like Chad Johnson calls you out. You can't really turn that down. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I told him, yo, I'm with it. Had a conversation with Sam Watson, said I'm with it. And he said they're going to make it happen. Haven't heard nothing back from them guys since. You know what I'm saying, Eddie?
Probably won't, but.
Yeah, I mean, look, and whatever it is, it was fun. But to make my long story short, we started off everything with a bang, you know what I mean? Because as soon as I walked in, I mean, that was day one, of me being in Miami. It was day one, and it started off with me and him basically having some words with each other. I'm like, yo, I literally just got here and shook things up a little bit. You feel me?
That's good.
Did you see Chad Johnson fight, and what was your thoughts on it?
No, I want to watch the video of it. Just talking to you, basically, you was kind of letting me know he didn't look that bad from what you said. Well, I mean, from you telling me, he didn't look that bad. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what he looks like as a fighter, because I mean, as a football player, I've seen him many times. He played for us, I think, a rival team for me. I think he was playing for the Bengals, right? Am I wrong? Am I right or wrong? And I think he was. But anyway, they're like opponents of the Steelers. They're in the same division, so I think I'm almost sure that he played for them. And they played a lot. So I seen a lot of him. So I know how he played on the field. He's really talented, athletic, up and down the court real fast, real sharp, route runner, all that. But it's different in boxing. So when he was calling out a real fighter, it kind of made. Now I'm not saying the guy he fought wasn't a real fighter. I don't know. But when you start calling out real like guys who really have a history, have a background, be it coaching, or boxing, obviously being in there and fighting, you're starting to put yourself in a little bit of uncharted territory. And from when you telling me how he was and being really humble and not really saying too much or being too arrogant, lets me know that he realizes that he's in a different world. You know what I'm saying? But then to call you out was kind of like,
Well, I think he called me out thinking that I was just a reporter. Yeah, he just thinking I was just a reporter. And the truth of the fact of the matter is, I thought he looked okay. Like, he did not look terrible. He has some decent footwork. He's very athletic. So he's like bouncing around the ring and he's jumping into his punches and he's making fundamental mistakes, but at the same time, his athleticism is allowing him to do certain things. So even though he's not a boxer, you can see that he spent some time in the gym. You can also see that he's very athletic and he'll be able to get away with a lot of stuff that the typical non-boxer who just walks in the boxing might not get away with due to his athleticism. He was a professional athlete, so obviously he understands how to train and get his body in shape and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's still all fine and dandy. You know what I mean? As you can see, he also got caught with a shot and he went down. And when he went down, Brian Maxwell, big shout out to him, he didn't follow up on it, if you ask me. Like, he knocked him down and he touched his gloves when he got it. Like when Chad Johnson got up, he dropped Chad with a hook. Chad got dropped, right? You could tell he was a little bit like, yo, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? He got up, and when he got up, he actually touched his glove. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's an exhibition, right? It's not a real fight. So I can understand that from an exhibition side of things. But had that been me in that same exhibition, I think I would have stopped him real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like you had an opportunity to do it, and instead you just touched his glove, and he didn't even really throw many punches after that. It was kind of like he coasted him to the end of the round. So I don't really know where Brian Maxwell's head was in this fight. If they talked to him before the fight and said, hey, man, carry him a little bit. This is his exhibition. Or, I don't know. I mean, I never heard these things being talked about myself in boxing, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it was just one of those things that was weird. Like, why didn't you jump on him? Why didn't you do more when you could have? And it might have been that it was because it was Chad Johnson. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think in that situation, like you said, it's an exhibition. Nobody's winning. So they probably told him, look, man, this is a new guy. He's in here. He's a famous dude. You know what I mean? He's just trying to get in there and get his feet wet, see how he feels. And once that happens, he probably told him, look, something go down, ease up. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if that was the conversation that went on. Like I said, there's like, we all getting paid for this. You know what I mean? You ain't got to go in there and try to kill a guy. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't been a part of any exhibitions as a professional, but I have as an amateur. And in the amateurs, we would go at it like it's a fight. You know what I mean? It was just a fight.
Who would you like to fight in an exhibition, Eddie? I think that's actually a nice little lane for you. You got a lot of guys now that doing exhibitions. I think, you know what I mean? If you're not going to continue boxing professionally due to the fact of the politics of boxing, who would be a dope exhibition for you? Who would be somebody like a basketball player? I can see you boxing a basketball player because obviously you love basketball.
I do.
Who's
I probably wouldn't try to hurt him.
Somebody you mind, get in the ring with somebody real tall, like something like a 7 foot tall.
I gotta be in there with Shaq. You know, I don't want to be in there with no damn Shaq.
I mean, you can't be a regular guy.
No, but it ain't gonna matter. But like, I got respect for basketball players and the heart they have and just the way they play. You know what I mean? I love the sports in general. I mean, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't give a shit. Look, I'm looking at how much of a great living these guys are making. You know what I mean? Fighting in these crazy little fights. And believe me, I'm a hardcore dude. I've been part of boxing for like 26 years almost now. You know what I mean? I've taken beatings. I've had to work very hard to get to the level I am, skill wise, and just in general. So you know, when you see guys Johnny come lately just jump into this sport, and this is really the only sport you can do that in. I mean, you can do it in MMA too. One question, Ant? Why is combat sports the easiest to break into? I don't understand it. It's the most dangerous shit in most ways, but it's the easiest to get into. You can't do that in football. You can't do that in basketball. You can't do it in tennis. You can't do it in any other sport but this sport, really. These two sports, MMA and boxing. And they're the two nastiest, toughest sports on the planet. You're literally a gladiator. And it's so easy to break into. So I don't really understand it. But hey, I guess you can.
I think it's because in the NBA and the NFL and all that stuff like that, you have one control. There's one person controlling all of it. And in boxing, you have a bunch of people who got their hands in the pot. And it's just kind of how the nature of the business is. And I think that if you have some kind of a popularity, if you want to fight, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, the Chad Johnson thing, like,
yeah.
Not to keep talking about that because I don't want to make this about that. But my thing is, I just don't think that they're going to see value in me yet because they're going to say, yeah, Coach Anthony might be a draw, but how much of a draw? How many people are going to watch me fight, like know who I am? I'm going to get more famous off of that than he is because at the end of the day, the only people who really know me are people in the boxing community as he's more of a world-renowned sport guy. And I just think that they're not looking forward to that. That's why he was talking more like a Conor McGregor, somebody who's on a huge platform and stuff like that. And I don't blame them on the financial side. It makes sense for them to avoid a guy like me because he goes ahead and gets knocked out by me. All he did was do me a favor. You know what I'm saying?
Now you're famous. That's right. That's right. And at the end of the day, why did everybody want to fight Floyd at the height?
Right.
Because it wasn't like they wanted to just get their ass beaten, pot shotted to death, but it was like, yo, we about to make millions. You know what I mean? We're gonna make, without a doubt, the biggest payday we've ever made. So you know what I mean. But with you or with somebody who's really good, like who would want to fight Earl Spencer on the way up, when as good as he was and as dangerous as he was, who would have wanted to fight him at that point? Nobody really knew who he was. He was a dangerous, tough fighter, but who would want to fight him? And maybe there's other better examples, but I just couldn't think of nobody right off the top of my head. But at the time, like, man, who gonna want to risk, like right now, Boots Ennis, who wants to fight him? No one.
Nobody.
No one. Why? Because it's a guaranteed loss. A guaranteed loss on your record. You could be the best in the world, and he's almost a guarantee still to put an L on your record, possibly. So why would you take a chance on that when you ain't getting no money? Like, yo, why is Earl fighting Pacquiao? I think Earl fight anybody, but why is he fighting Pacquiao? He's fighting Pacquiao because
the name. He's on his way out. The name. He's on his way out.
Absolutely. So it's a smart business move. You know what I mean? Who wants to, like, why are...
Well, like they say, boxing's a business disguised as a sport. You know what I'm saying? And that's really all sports in reality, if you think about it. Like, everything is business. But to talk about what you were saying also, like, you know, is it like, let me ask you, because there's a lot we got to talk about, y'all. There's a lot we're going to talk about, so I'm going to need y'all to rock with us. But the first thing, before we talk about the obvious things like the Logan Paul Floyd thing, we're going to talk about that in a second. And some of the other stuff that's happened last week, we're going to talk about all that in a second. But what's your thoughts and opinion? I actually had a conversation with Antonio Tarver about this. I got the interview on my YouTube channel, guys, if you guys haven't seen it. Did you see the clip with Antonio Tarver? I went to give him a dap, and he went and he dapped somebody else. Did you see that? That's just funny.
That's just how kind of funny.
Yeah, I went like this to give Antonio Tarver a dap, and he ain't see it because he had his shades on, and he walked right past me and dapped some other dude and started having a conversation. So I slowed it up and I fucking posted it. Shit was hilarious. But that was actually right before I actually did an interview with him. And my question to him, and it's going to be the same question that I'm going to have to you, is what's your thoughts on boxing and the direction that it's going. What's your thoughts on boxing, and how do you feel as a man who devoted so much of his life, into boxing, with these young guys who never boxed before making a career and making not a career, but making a lot of money really quickly? Like yesterday, you had the YouTubers versus the TikTokers, which I actually watched it, believe it or not, because my girl's nephew was here and he was super excited about it. It's a shame because you had Shakur Stevenson fighting the same exact time or the same exact day, and listen, my nephew, my girl, and the little sister wanted to watch. They actually stood up and watched it, and they can care less about Shakur Stevenson fighting. I'm the only one who was like, yo, I'm going to the room to watch Shakur Stevenson, even though I was a little bit bored in that fight. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
More fun watching YouTubers, huh?
I said, but we're hardcore guys.
That's what we're hardcore guys. But it was the thing that I actually enjoyed the YouTube card better because it was more competitive, even though those guys don't want to fight. But what's your thoughts on boxing, where it's headed, and what's going on in it? And do you like it? Do you agree with it? Do you hate on it? Like, I don't want to say hate on it, but do you dislike it? Talk to me.
Well, there was parts of it that I'm like, how these dudes that never laced up gloves before, never really worked that hard, never had to really experience adversity with any of this sport in that aspect. It's kind of like disrespectful. But then I'm looking and I'm like, man, there's a lane for this. And it raises interest in boxing because you got lay people who's actually watching these guys fight. Why wouldn't they want to watch a person who actually really can fight, skill-wise and excitingly? You know what I mean? It makes people get on YouTube and start looking up fighters and stuff like that. It makes it a little bit better. Some of these guys who are on the undercard are now getting noticed, right? Like you look at the Mayweather card, he had some undercard fights that were legit. Obviously, they were legit fights. And these guys are getting noticed and they're becoming a little more famous based on that. So it's in its lane, it's good. It actually can help people pay attention to the sport of boxing again. And it's actually it's a good forum because, in some ways you can kind of, put like guys who are at the same level so they won't literally get killed in there. You know what I'm saying? And you can have them, oh, you're a pro fighter now. So they get the confidence and they, it just really gives them that whole, and a lot of people in this era is not going to remember it, but like that whole Rocky feel. You know what I'm saying? They'll remember more so Creed, because that's more of this era. But it gives you that feel like, oh, man, I'm in the gym training. I'm getting ready for a real fight and blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of nice for them. And on top of that, we get all these people. We talk about all these kids and women and people who actually watch these YouTubers, all these motherfuckers, million followers here, 2-3 million over here, 20 million.
Look, I just had a guy who, I'm not going to say his name yet because we haven't solidified anything to lock it down, but he has like over 1 million followers on Instagram. He got the verified check. And he actually DM'd me and said, Coach Anthony, I see that you're a great trainer. I want to work with you. And I might be going out to his hometown to work with him to get him prepared for possibly some sort of a celebrity match. And it's just amazing to me because a lot of people don't like it. But I say there's more. You got to look at the opportunities that come with this. Like somebody might call you in and say, Eddie, we want you to fight this guy. Like I said, a 7-foot-tall giant basketball player. Or they might call you in and say, we need you to help with the training camp. We need you to help with the sparring. We need you to help with the actually being in the corner. And we know you're available for all those things also as I am as well. So in boxing, the only thing that sucks is, and this is a problem that I think a lot of fighters have. Guys in boxing, guys like yourself, I'm going to use you as an example because you kind of fit into this category. No disrespect, but professional boxers think that the only thing they have to do is know how to fight.
No, it's a lot more to it than that.
No. Yeah, exactly. But my point is,
no, you're right.
Go to the gym, they train, they learn the craft, they put the blood, sweat, tears, and equity into it. And don't get me wrong, that shit is hard.
That is the main thing they should think about early on.
But they don't think about is how to market themselves, like a Ryan Garcia did, or even, you know what I mean? And I know it's hard because what people don't realize is when you're training, for one, you're tired, right? So you ain't thinking about nothing after the training, right? You're like, man, I'm tired. Fuck that shit. I'm just gonna go chill out. I'm gonna relax. Another thing is a lot of fighters don't know how to express themselves other than whooping your ass, right? Their personalities suck. They're not outgoing people. They're not. All they want to do is whoop your ass because that's what a fighter is.
They do. Yeah.
So the problem is they don't formulate a team around them that actually can say, listen, man, we got to promote, we got to market, we got to, somebody who's the brains of the operation. If you know you're a fighter who don't have that, you need to surround yourself with people who do, because just being a good fighter ain't enough.
No, not now. Now, the business aspect of the sport is just as important. You can be I don't say the worst fighter, but you can be a not so good fighter and still make tons more money than a great talent. You know what I mean? Look at Demetrius Andrade. You know what I mean? There are fighters out there that's making more money than him that aren't even a fraction of the fighter that he is. But because of whatever happened, and maybe he's not promoting himself properly, maybe he's not out there, doing the things he needs to do to make himself a name. Maybe he doesn't have a personality necessarily. I think he does. But he has the look, he has the fight game, he has all that other stuff. But he needs to get in front of that camera and do the right thing. Calling people out is cool, but you got to be able to market yourself a little bit better. As much as we always like to talk about how Adrian Broner, like a lot of times, you look at him and he's like, some of that's a waste, almost a waste of talent. But look what he did marketing wise. This dude is always talked about and always seen.
I was in Miami and he came through and people were treating him like he was still on the top of the damn list. Like he was walking through. Like, how many fighters do you know that can lose as much as he did in top fights and still like have like a celebrity presence to that level? Like, and it's because he understands that it's more than just being a fighter. Like, and that's why I've been trying to preach this to fighters for a long time. You have to market yourself. You have to let people know. You have to get people to actually be interested in you more than just your skills.
That's right. 100%. Like with me, I could talk, right? But I was still not like one of those mouthy guys. Like I could talk, I can get on camera and tell you about fights. I can do commentary. I can do all that stuff. I speak well enough to get the point across to people.
And you fight the ass off.
Right, but I didn't have like the story I had, whether it's a good story or not. It wasn't something they could really sell. I didn't have enough. I wasn't tall. I wasn't like 6'8". You know what I mean? I wasn't all chiseled, all crazy. I wasn't like a Mike Tyson with that crazy look that he has and just that fierce punching power. It was all skills, and I could talk, but that's not enough. You got to be exceptional. You got to have an exceptional story, or you just got to keep winning. Well, and then you got to be able to. Then you got to. This is the thing that I'm missing. I'm gonna say this last time about this situation. Then you got to have the people that's around you that's about to ride with you for whatever they have to do, whatever they think is gonna get you in the door. If they got to teach you, if they got to literally take you to acting classes, whatever it may be, to get you to play a character. Look at Floyd. First half of his career, he wasn't really saying much. He was just a bad motherfucker. He beat people to death, but he realized once he went through that first stint of retirement, like, man, hold up, man, I ain't getting no money. Like, I was making a couple million here, a couple million there, but I ain't getting no real money. He said, okay, so I'm gonna fight Oscar De La Hoya, beat him, then I'm Money Mayweather now. I'm taking his shit. Now I'm running the world. And now he talks shit all the time. How he's TBE, all of that stuff. It's a brilliant marketing thing. Make people hate you so that they can't wait to see you lose and just never lose. And that's what he did.
Well, let me think about this. Like, for instance, let's go ahead and skip ahead real quick. We got a new fighter right now that everybody knows about, obviously up and coming, by the name of Shakur Stevenson. Now, Shakur Stevenson reminds me of a Floyd Mayweather as far as how careful he is, how he thinks. I don't think he's like Floyd skill-wise because he fights differently, but he has that kind of intense focus. I've seen him box in person in the gym. I've had the opportunity to see him spar, and I've seen him in his fights, and he's very, very good. Very good. Don't get me wrong. But the way he fought last night, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the way he fought last night was so cautious that it was really no disrespect to Shakur because I know he's a good fighter. It was really boring. And I'm a coach who appreciates technical boxing. And when I tell you it was boring, if he would have been my fighter, I'd have pulled him to the corner and probably started yelling at him like, just a little bit, like, yo, my man, come on, bro. Like, because this is not just about winning all the time. We got to put on some excitement. And when you're that much better than your opponent, that's one thing that, and don't get me wrong, this African guy might have had some power. He knocked out a lot of guys. His record, he had, like, if I'm not mistaken, 20 wins and 17 KOs. So he might have had some punching power. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't. So I could understand if Shakur felt something that he's like, yo, trust me, this is not punch. But my point is this. Regardless of what your opinion was, my opinion is on how he should have performed yesterday. He won. That's great. But the problem is, who is he outside the ring? The kids don't know who he is. The girls really don't know who he is. But the girls know Ryan Garcia. The kids know Ryan Garcia. But the kids, listen, I can guarantee right now, I go to a couple of girls right now and be like, yo, do you know who Shakur Stevenson is? And they're going to say, who? Now, I go to those same girls, but you ever seen Ryan Garcia? Oh, yeah, the guy. You see what I'm saying? So my point being is you have to be a marketable guy because skills ain't enough. Shakur Stevenson arguably is one of the best skilled guys in the game today. Mm-hmm. And to me, he's not being very marketable as of yet. What's your thoughts?
100% correct. 100% correct in every way. It's like you look at Floyd early on and you think about how he was being marketed as Pretty Boy Floyd, all-American guy, clean, never been hit, never lost, one of the most technically sound boxing. They were marketing him through boxing only. In order to get past it and get beyond the barriers of what boxing is, you have to look outside of that. You got to get fans and people who to understand where you're coming from. That's not necessarily connected to boxing. You got to make people want to watch you just because of who you are, not based on your boxing ability. Like with me, it was like, a lot of people need titles to validate them and say, oh, he's one of the best. So now it's like, oh, okay, so now we can like him because he legitimately is one of the best, right? Well, Floyd got to a point where it didn't matter if he had a title on the line. Everybody was just coming to see Floyd fight. Same thing with Pacquiao.
And not to cut you off, Floyd Mayweather wasn't necessarily the most exciting guy in his fights, but you were so in tune with what he did outside the ring that you couldn't wait to see him fight and lose, win, whatever your case may be.
There it is. So it's like, same thing with Pacquiao. Most people like Pacquiao because he had a daring personality as far as like, oh, nice guy. Didn't necessarily speak the language perfectly, but you know what I'm saying? You still can understand him. He was the kind of guy you would want to root for.
But not only that, though, Pacquiao was opposite. His personality wasn't over the top, and he will knock you the hell out. And that's what Sanchez talked about when he disrespected the black community by basically saying black fighters aren't exciting. Remember when he said that? And everybody, their mother got pissed off with him. It was black, like, oh, there goes the racist BS or whatever. But what he basically trying to say in probably not the right terminology, right? He probably used different terminology. But what he was basically trying to say was these black fighters are so skillful that they're not fun to watch because black fighters in most cases when they're good are very technically sound. Most of the things that I teach is stuff that black fighters do because it's what works. Now, the problem with that is when you're fighting with intellect, it's not super exciting, right? Because you're not taking unnecessary chances. You're very defensively sound. So if you're going to be a technically good fighter, then we need some personality. If you're going to be a quiet guy, then you need to be knocking guys out. Something's got to shine. And that's what it comes down to.
Yep. And there's people that fall into the category of like, you don't have either one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Perfect example. One of the best fighters, didn't lose a fight since he was 12 years old. I love Andre Ward. Love him.
One of the GOAT.
One of them.
Yeah.
Got a great ambassador for the sport, can speak and everything. Didn't have the craziest personality. A lot of people didn't like to watch him fight too because of like the way he just won. It was all about getting the dub for him, which is and in the bag too in a way. But I feel like his personality and his fight style didn't like it wasn't enough for him to be like he was a star and he was going to be a star just because he was that good. He was beating other guys who were recognized too. But it's just he didn't have enough to be like, okay, he's one of the even if he was the top pound for pound guy and people recognized him as that, he still wasn't going to be the biggest star. You understand what I'm saying? But I think he may have realized that, said, look, well, I'm just going to take my bag and I'm leaving because it's pointless. It's the only thing that can happen for me now is that if I stay around, I get old, I end up losing, then my legacy starts to go. You know what I'm saying? If he could have found a way to start to market himself, and I don't know if he would have been able to do it like the whole Money Mayweather thing, but he could have marketed, I can't nobody beat me. I've beat everybody. I can go up to heavyweight. I can go, you know what I mean? I don't know if it would have been something that could have worked for him. But I'm just looking at a guy like him.
It could have. You see a guy like Andre Ward and a lot of guys in this game, and I don't blame it because. And look, man, we're on this topic for quite a long time, everybody. I know you probably thought we were just going to keep talking about everything that's happened recently, but this is like a topic that we can go on for forever. But for instance, some people, not all, but some people may look at it like you have to lose integrity to do some of the things that's going to make you famous, right? So for instance, like some of the antics that Floyd Mayweather does rubs people the wrong way, you know, with the flashing of the money and this and that, and, you know, the buying of the jewelry and just like kind of putting out a persona that might not really be all the way him, but he knows that's what grasps attention, right? A lot of men feel like if I do that, I'm going against my moral code. I believe that Andre Ward had a moral code, being a man that called himself the son of God, you know what I'm saying, and all these things. And I just believe that his moral code wouldn't allow him to do those things. And he's probably like, look, I live in a nice house.
Yeah, I'm happy.
In the bank, I got a beautiful wife, I got children, whatever the case may be. He's probably like, I don't need what Floyd has, and I don't blame him. Like, if you're not willing to pay that price that Floyd got to pay to do what he does, then by all means, do what makes you happy, right? You don't have to be the richest guy in the game to be happy. I think that is more of a mindset and stuff like that. So with that being said, I think that's the issue with a lot of people. We look at the financial success, but we don't know what Floyd deals with demon-wise when the cameras aren't on him. He might be unhappy as hell for all we know. I don't know. I'm not saying he is, but we don't know. We know that he's making bread, but we don't know what the facts are. So it really comes down to your moral codes and what you're willing to live with.
I mean, for me, I'm looking at Andre Ward like, yo, he got the life that I wouldn't mind having. I'm not one of those big flashy dudes like that. Now, granted, I like having things like for me, you know, I get my nice big house. You know what I'm doing with my house.
Man,
I'm putting a gym. I'm putting.
Eddie wishes that he was in the NBA instead of being one of the best boxers of modern times. But anyway,
listen, hold on. I'm gonna say it like this. I would have liked to have been basketball been my main thing, and boxing have been a hobby. 100%. That's how I feel.
You might have made more money if that was the case.
If I would have been able to be a real if I'd have made the league, which is really difficult to make the league, even if you are one of the most talented dudes on the planet, you still might not make the league. But if I would have been able to make the league, then I already made it. I got my world title. I'm one of the best in the world playing on the court with the rest of these best motherfuckers that's best in the world. So I'm good. But in boxing, this is the thing about boxing. In boxing, you have to get to a title, be it win it or get it to the title or be popular enough in and around it. You know what I mean? In the top 10, top 5 or whatever, to be recognized like that and make that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? In basketball, you ain't got to even get close to winning the title. As long as you make it into the NBA and you get a nice second contract, you're good. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm looking at it in the smart way, I'm like, yo, shit, I would like to make the league and then been a real talented guy like I am in boxing in the league. Because listen, one thing about those sports, if you're talented, you're gonna get your opportunity to shine. If you're in there and you have the form and you have the work ethic, you're gonna get there. In that kind of situation, same thing in football. Those are big sports here in the States. Boxing, not so much. So if you're not one of the main guys on the planet, and as far as in boxing, you ain't got 2 or 3 titles into your name, to your credit, they don't know who you are. Like I was one of the top 3 heavyweights in the world at one point. Like I know I lost to Povetkin, but I had surpassed him in ratings because I had beat Dimitrenko and beat other guys, and he was still kind of holding on to his position in the IBF. So I was just like, I kept going, and I was looking for that Klitschko fight. So I surpassed him. It was the 2 Klitschko brothers and me behind him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But guess what? How many people knew me? Nobody. Knew me. All they knew was the Klitschko brothers. Who they gonna knock out next? Oh, this little American dude, black dude. Yeah, he probably good, but nah. He getting knocked out in the first round. That's how it was. Wasn't enough popularity. Wasn't no real music behind me. You know what I mean? I ain't have nobody to believe that I was gonna win that fight. Shit, they didn't even think I was gonna get out the first 2 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta have more than just your fight game. And I say all that to say this. You gotta have, and in my opinion, when I got to the level I got to, if I would have went ahead and ran my mouth, well, not ran my mouth, but talked to my team and really let them know what I really believe would have been the best idea, I'd have like, look, man, why fight this guy right now? Let's sit on this rating, kind of like Povetkin did. Look what he did. He ended up winning a title. Let's wait on the WBA or wait on one of these titles to be stripped from one of these brothers and get that. Then we got some bargaining chips. Now we can say, okay, well, you got to fight us in the U.S. Yeah, they wanted to come to the U.S. anyway, but they were like, man, we ain't gonna get no crowd with this dude. He ain't got no following. He got to come to Germany. Everything is going in their way. I had nothing. I had no fans. I had. But funny enough, I had more support over there than I would have had here in the States. But it still wasn't nothing. There was if there was 55,000 people in the arena, 1,000 was there for me, 54,000 there for Vladimir, and that's probably a lie. You know what I'm saying? So you need a following. You need to have people believe that you have a shot,
right?
Even if all the real boxing public knows you don't.
Right. So let me ask you now. Let's go ahead and let's move forward because we've been on this topic for a minute now, and we can literally do a whole podcast on just what we've been talking about.
100%.
Let's talk about something that I'm late on this. But let's go ahead and talk about this Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather recap. What you thought about it? I'll talk about what I thought about it. I was at the fight. Obviously, I was there. I was damn near front row.
Damn, man, you VIP.
I do. You know how I do. You know what I'm saying? $25,000 tickets. You know what I'm saying? I ain't paid for them, though. You know?
I was going to say, this thing I ain't got to worry about that.
Well, I was sitting, you needed $25K to be there, or you needed to be Coach Anthony. You know what I mean? One or the other. You know what I mean?
And I ain't got neither. So fuck it. Whatever.
There with me, but I know you were busy with other agendas. But anyway, what did you think? Because Logan Paul, obviously, a lot of people discredited him from the very beginning and said, you know, he's going to get stopped and this and that and everything else. And Floyd Mayweather being a man of all these years of boxing experience, granted, he was damn near 50 pounds lighter and stuff like that. He's still Floyd Mayweather, right? He is 44, but he still is Floyd Mayweather. You can still see his abs. So he obviously takes care of himself to a degree. From what I know, from being friends with his uncle and his father, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he likes to take care of himself. So he's not a terribly bad position for a 44-year-old man like some boxers are, you know, even younger than that once they retire. What were your thoughts on his performance, Logan Paul's performance, and the fight overall? We already know what your thoughts were leading to it, but what are your thoughts on after from what you saw?
Well, the little bit I did see, you know, I mean, obviously you could tell his idea, and very similar to what he was doing with Conor McGregor, was just to walk the bigger guy down because they have no experience and they really don't understand what it's like to be pressured, even by a small guy. Now, let's just say this. If Floyd was 20 pounds heavier, there was no way he would have been able to stay in there. Even if Floyd was half the fighter that he was. You know what I'm saying? It just wouldn't have worked. But the fact that he was 34.5 pounds heavier gave him that little bit more to be able to survive, even though he was dog tired in the second half of the whole fight. People really underestimate how much that weight really means. And this goes to show you. Now, granted, when you're 200 pounds, it's not as big of a difference. You know what I mean? I want to say. But then again, when you're outweighed by 40 pounds and like 6 inches or 5 inches in height, you think that don't make a difference? So it doesn't matter just because we're 200 pounds now. And I'm not trying to make this about me, but I'm just showing you how difficult it can be. Now, this is a YouTuber, a dude that never is not a real fighter. He got a loss against another YouTuber. Floyd Mayweather, this is the greatest fighter of this modern time. This ain't supposed to happen. He's not supposed to survive. But then again, Floyd is also 44. He doesn't have a need or a desire to really fight. The only thing he was really thinking about was, I want to make some money real quick. You know what I mean? Rob the bank legally. You know what I mean? Like he was saying, you know what I mean? That was really the whole thing.
I don't think he did anything to alter his training other than maybe box a few rounds in the gym leading up to the fight. But I guarantee you, he kept his regular physical regimen that he does to keep himself in regular shape. Maybe a week or two out just so he can get in the ring. And from there, he decided to go into the ring and obviously fight. I felt like Floyd Mayweather realized that it's a little bit harder than he thought it was going to be. And I think he's reevaluating some stuff right now, saying, how many more of these exhibitions am I going to take with these big guys? Because even in that situation, what if one of these big guys get lucky? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you saw Logan Paul open up a pretty strong flurry on him in the first round, which Floyd blocked a lot of those shots. But I didn't like how Floyd was covered up in the corner in the first round. I mean, he was literally in the corner. What if one of those shots would have crept around the side of the glove and hit him in the temple or something? We've seen stuff like that happen. It's not like he was sitting there shoulder rolling, dipping, and getting out the way a young Floyd Mayweather would have. So how many more of those exhibitions do you think Floyd's willing to do? And where do you rate Logan Paul right now after watching what you saw?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this. Floyd probably, first of all, I wanted to get this point across too. When you're not mentally, and we talked about this before, you don't start a Ferrari engine up for 2-3 years. That shit ain't gonna start when you put the key in. You understand what I'm saying? It's a mindset. If Floyd hasn't had to do that in 2 or 3 years, really get his mind really ready for a serious fight. You know what I mean? He in there with a guy like this who's literally really trying to come in there and be a hero to some, and even to himself, and win a fight like that. It's gonna be kind of hard to turn that shit on. You know what I'm saying? And I think Floyd got in there not realizing how difficult that would be, and then not really sparring, not really being in the gym. Like, I mean, being in the gym, don't get me wrong, hitting the pads and all that stuff, totally different from fighting. He knows this, but I think he didn't give the kid the credit. You know, that he did. It ended up being a little harder than he thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Probably a lot harder, but I'll say a little harder than he thought it was going to be. But what was the question again?
Can I get a pause? I'm just curious. Can I get a pause?
Pause. Damn, that was my bad. Oh yeah, damn. Oh shit.
Yeah, you wilding right now.
I was on that. I sat really.
All right.
Oh, you know what? I was about to say something that was even worse. I was gonna say something real pause, like, you know what I mean? But go ahead. Give me the question again one more time, man, because you know.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Logan Paul's performance? Not his performance, but where does he stand with you? And do you see Floyd continuing these exhibitions with these mismatches to make them interesting? How many more, if any more, do you see him doing?
If it's not gonna be 9 figures, I don't think Floyd gonna be interested anymore. Because I mean, you know, he's not at this point in his life to take any more punches, especially from damn somebody. Then G just fucking put that shit up there.
Gary Ruger for the super chat, guys. I appreciate the super chat, pal. So yeah. But anyway, maybe you'll fight Logan Paul, and I'll get the Ocho Cinco fight on the same card. I'll work your corner, and then you work my corner, and that's how we'll.
Hell yeah. Hey, listen. I want that fight. You know what I mean? I'll let him beat up on me if he wants. No, but no, as far as Floyd, man, I don't think he thinking about getting no more punishment, man. Even if he, because the way he fought him, like he ain't gonna fight him like Floyd fights. He's gonna fight him like he's a YouTuber. That's like he did. He's gonna walk him down, wear him out, then end up stopping him. But with with this whole thing, this dude's 190 something pounds, probably more like 200 pounds the night of the fight. So he was definitely a little more in than he got a little more than he bargained for. You know what I mean, with the weight. So I honestly don't think, unless either they're somewhat closer in weight or the fight. I mean, you can't. I'm not gonna say Logan Paul wasn't decent or okay, for who he is, but I still don't think they're pro fighters. That's just my opinion. Because if they got in there with anybody,
well, let's be clear, Eddie. Let's be clear. They're not. How many pro fights have we been to where guys are just as bad, if not worse, than the Paul brothers?
I can agree with that. However,
it just depends on what pedigree you're cut from. Like me, my expectations of going professional are way higher.
Exactly.
I should have definitely went pro because I was much more skilled than so many pros that I know personally. And the difference between me and them was they made the decision and the jump to go pro.
Yeah.
Like you said, boxing is one of the easiest things to get into. You don't need to go through a certain kind of a criteria to become a professional. It's not like you have to go through college football to be in the NFL. In boxing, you don't have to go through anything. You can literally turn professional tomorrow. So with the right management, Logan Paul and Jake Paul can intentionally go 10-0, 15-0.
Oh my God. No, they can go 30 or 40-0. Dog, let me tell you, I've seen guys who had that good of a record and finally lost when they started getting a little older to one of these, journeymen of journeymen. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but they can fight as long as they want, never lose if they want. There's always a way, but it's just when I say not pro fighters,
I'm talking about the standard, the real standard that me and you look at.
Yeah, they're not that. They're not looking to now. No disrespect to them. For them to be able to get in the ring and have the heart, have the sack.
Are they open to the ring? Are they open class amateurs?
No, not even
novices. They're in shape novices.
They're in shape novices that will get in there and
what you're saying is an in shape novice
can give them work.
Heavier can go the distance with the greatest boxer of all time. Yeah, that's what happened the other day.
To be honest, if you put a guy in there that is 200 pounds, let's say 200 pounds, that has no boxing skills, but athletic, possibly. And remember, Floyd Mayweather is not a knockout puncher, and he had gloves on. Maybe you put the MMA gloves on him, that may be a little different. But Floyd's not a real big puncher.
That works both ways, right?
That's true. That's very true. That is very true. But no, what I'm saying is, and remember, he's also almost 20 years older than the kid, too. That makes a difference, man. I was just having this conversation with another friend of mine, with Joey, and he was saying, "Oh man, talking about how bad Floyd looked, and was it worth it to him?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the money, you know what I mean." But
worth it.
No, but for him, Floyd is beyond rich. He's wealthy, right? So does he really need that?
So we think, so perceived. He could be in debt over his head for all we know. That is true.
Now, you know what? That 100%.
Everything's perception.
That could be fact. But just from what we're seeing,
right, based off what we know.
Right. For him, it's more about legacy. You don't want your legacy to be remembered by any group of people that you went or you let this YouTuber go to distance with you. But I guess if you make $75 million letting this YouTuber go to distance with you, then it might not be so bad. I tell you what, I'll let him go to distance with me for shit. I don't even want to put myself out there like
put a number out there because you'll next week for $100. So we're not even gonna put it.
I ain't gonna say $100, I damn sure. If he look, I know one. I can say this for a fact. I would do it for a lot less than Floyd. That's what I will say. But I don't. If they take the chains off us, he ain't going the fucking distance. I don't care what they say. He ain't going nowhere. But he gonna be back in this corner after the first round's over, and that's it. But all I'm saying is, if they need me to hold the chains on me or whatever, or tell me you can't throw nothing but the jab, I'll do that. Shit, you just gotta guarantee me some bread. That's all.
But let's move on. Let's talk about real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this one because I'm gonna do this again with my boy Daya Davis. Big shout out to my boy Daya. I'm gonna have him on. If you're around, we'll have you on too. But we're gonna talk about Jake Paul actually is fighting UFC fighter Tyron Woodley. Now, Tyron Woodley is a legitimate guy in the UFC. I don't know about his boxing skills. We just seen what happened with the other UFC fighter, Ben Askren or whatever his name is, and he got aired out real quick. Now, what's your thoughts with Tyron Woodley being a guy who understands fighting at a high level, but not necessarily boxing? Mm-hmm. How does he do, considering he is smaller than Jake Paul by a few pounds? Not the big variety, not the big difference in size like Floyd versus Logan, but he is a little bit smaller. Pause. But how do you feel about that fight, and how do you feel if Jake Paul happens to win by knockout in that fight? If he knocks out a guy like Jake or Tyron Woodley, which is possible, which I'm not saying will happen.
Right.
Where do we rate him now? Now that he's beating up on UFC fighters, not necessarily boxers, but UFC fighters.
Well, he's still, in my opinion, I mean, it all depends on how Tyron Woodley shows up. You know what I'm saying? Tyron Woodley is actually not a bad striker. And he can punch too. You know, he seems like he has a pretty good punch. And MMA is a little different with the bigger gloves on, and you know, different ranges, different things you got to do. You don't got to worry about the kicks and the takedowns. And Tyron Woodley is actually a really, really good wrestler, as well as Ben Askren was when he was, you know, in there. But Tyron Woodley, like I said, is a much better stand-up striker than what Ben Askren. Ben Askren wouldn't even throw shots generally in fights. He would act like he's gonna throw them just to get you on the ground. So that was fighting Ben Askren was a safe bet generally. Generally speaking, for Jake Paul, because Jake Paul, all he did was box. This is a different game though. Like, there's danger in this one for him. I don't know how good of a boxer Tyron Woodley's gonna be, and when he can't grab and he can't use those other aspects of striking to gain an advantage. He just legitimately has to box. I don't know how it's gonna look, because I mean, I'm not saying Jake Paul is great or good or even decent. He's a novice. But how much of a novice is Tyron Woodley when it comes to boxing? Listen, Anderson Silva is probably one of the greatest strikers in MMA history. Anderson Silva was what? 1-3 or 2-1 or some he didn't have a very good record as a boxer.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's a different world. A lot of people in MMA and a lot of guys are, MMA over boxing. I get it, because we're specialists. But boxing is extremely nuanced. There's so many little details that you have to become a really, really good fighter at a very high level and to be consistent. You know what I mean? And I think respect is lost a bit from boxing. And some of this YouTube stuff, these YouTubers and these TikTokers and all that jumping into the sport, kind of makes them, even though it's exciting and it's fun to watch for regular people, it kind of makes people in other sports look like, oh, this boxing ain't really in it. But it's not. That's not it. That's not it at all. You know what I mean? Tough Man was quote unquote boxing, but you didn't disrespect boxing by looking at Tough Man. This is just another form of that. You understand what I'm saying? So, but Tyron Woodley, I think, is a really good measuring stick for what Jake Paul really is in boxing. And I think if he gets in there and Jake Paul does well enough with him, maybe he's then now a higher level novice, not necessarily a professional or even open class fighter, but he's just a higher level novice. And I'm not saying that Tyron Woodley isn't a pro level boxer, But if he is, he has to prove it in this fight.
Right. Yeah, definitely, man. I agree with you, man. It's very interesting, and the cool thing is, I actually got relationships with guys from that side of the game, American Top Team and stuff. So I'm actually gonna have those guys come on and tell me what their thoughts are. It's in the very near future, guys. So stay tuned to that. A lot of you guys don't know I'm connected with those guys, man, through my boy King Mo. You know King Mo. You started King Mo. You know what I'm saying?
King Mo always talking shit.
That's my boy.
Where's King Mo?
We got to get King Mo on here. Yeah, man. So all right, so let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. And since we're on this MMA topic, did you see Clarissa Shields?
I did.
Did you see that fight?
So don't be saying we can't do that shit, dog. Don't be hating on us when we get in there.
Now, let me tell you something. It wasn't looking good for her for 2 out of the 3 rounds.
Yeah, no.
She was on that. Like, I was like, wow. See, it's crazy, right? Because I didn't think that Clarissa Shields would have that much trouble in her debut. I didn't think that they would match her up with a girl. And from what I hear is this girl's not great. But that girl was able to get her to the ground and keep her there for most of the damn fight. I'm very impressed, though, with how Clarissa Shields stood calm, stood competitive, and fought her way off the ground eventually to end up getting the ground and pound. But her being one of the GOATs, right? Being the GOAT, being a woman boxer who's obviously one of the best, if not the greatest, like she calls herself of all time for female boxing, she really couldn't be effective with her punches, man. Like, it took her to be on the ground. Like, she couldn't get her shots off. You seen her try, she get taken down. You see her try, she get taken down. So, I mean, did you see the fight?
I saw parts of it. I saw the end. I saw little parts, little clips. But I'll tell you what it is. And it's just like with MMA people and how they talk about, but when you get into that sport, you are now in that sport. You're in their rules. You're doing what they're doing. I can't get on the court and start throwing punches. Like that doesn't happen. I'm getting ejected, right? That's not part of the game. That's not how you score, right? So if I'm getting in an MMA ring, yeah, I'll be able to throw punches. I'll be able to do my normal shit. But then they got other stuff that I got to deal with. So you got to respect their game just as they're respecting yours. The one thing is when we get into MMA, and I've seen different guys do it, like you see James Toney do it. James Toney didn't work on his ground game. He didn't work on his wrestling. He didn't work on none of that shit. He
thought he was going to be able to shoulder roll his way to a victory.
That's what he thought, but it's a different world. So just like they have to respect us, which they do when we get in the ring with them or in the cage with them, we gotta respect them too. If I'm getting into the first in MMA, I'm like, yo, I'm training for 5 years. I'll get in there at 45, 44. And I'm like, I'm training 5 years. I'm going to be a fucking jiu-jitsu fucking purple or black belt by the time I'm in there. I'm telling you, because I don't want to put myself in a position to where I'm not, how do I say it, well enough prepared for what I'm facing. I don't want to be the guy that's not skilled enough to deal with what's coming. Like I see a lot of these guys and I don't know how they don't retain some of the knowledge. Like, man, I learned how to personal train, just regular personal train, not with boxing, by just listening and learning from the guys that were teaching me and training me. Like, you got to pay attention. You got to listen. So if I'm in there and I'm learning these techniques and these people are showing me this, like when Mo one time, Mo was in there doing hand fighting with me. And I remember he grabbed the back of my head. And I used to wonder why Ali used that shit so much. And I was like, God damn, that makes you feel so tired, man. It makes you feel like you literally have somebody took a 30-pound weight and just put it on their neck. You know what I'm saying? It really feels that way. So different little things like that just make it, you try to retain the knowledge. And I think a lot of these fighters get in there and you know what happens when you're stressed, in athletics. You're going to do what you're comfortable doing.
Right.
If you in the MMA ring or in the MMA cage, what the hell are you comfortable doing in there? It's a good.
I would not feel comfortable going into an MMA match, even against a guy who is like a bum. Like, I'd be like, here we go, because it's so different, man. But in a boxing, I take my chances.
Right, but if me and you were training for 3 years, let's say 3, nothing but that. We already know
3 years is a long time to do anything. So yeah, I'd build confidence in it in 3 years.
You be submitting people. You would be in there with black belts all the time, training with them, being taught. learning things, and then your athleticism and your understanding for combat nature sports, because we've been involved in them for so long, starts to take over as well. And then you start working on other disciplines and other things. Then it becomes more like, then you become more entwined in it. Then it becomes like an addiction. Just like other, we're sportsmen, we're athletes, man. We have like an attitude toward this thing and a level of just like dedication and some up to some degree, like it's like an addiction, right? So it's like we'll be in there. Like I know if it was me, it's like with basketball, dog. Every time I turn around, I'm like, man, I'm looking at a court. I'm like, I'm trying to jump on a court. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to play with pros. I'm always trying to, because I want to be better. I love it. It's just something to be involved. It's great. Even remember when I was in there with Dave and we was in the gym, he got me throwing kicks and all that. And I was like, man, I kind of like that shit. I want to do that. I used to always watch the martial arts movies and shit when I was a kid. Like, yo, I want to get in there. You know what I'm saying? I want to learn how to do that. So it's like, look, any of these things, if you get involved in it and you really, really, really want to learn it, man, without a doubt, 3 years, we'll be doing that shit easily. Not saying that we'll be top level or even bottom level.
We'll be able to handle ourselves because we come from a skill set already that'll carry us.
100%.
What are your thoughts on? Let's move on. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Jarrett Swift Hurd. He actually lost. He fought Lucas Arias, who I had a chance to interview both of those guys. So if you guys go on my YouTube channel, you'll see I had the opportunity to interview those guys. What's your thoughts on Swift losing to Lewis, and what was your thoughts on the fight?
I didn't really see much of the fight, to be honest, if any of it. But from what I've heard, that he was defense, man. He was just taking a lot of shots. It's uncharacteristic to a degree, but if you think about it, when you watch Jarrett Hurd fight, like even when you watch him fight Julian Williams, J-Rock, he was taking a lot of punch. But when you look at J-Rock is talented, man. He's fast, sharp, you know what I mean, powerful. So I mean, in that, I feel like you can understand it. I'm not saying Luis Arias is not. He has his own.
Now he made a good point in the interview. He started off his record 18-0. And a lot of people don't remember that. He was 18-0. He was building. No, Luis Arias.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people forgot that he was actually a pretty good prospect at one time before he took a couple of L's or whatever. I don't even know his career that well, but I know that he was a prospect. He was with Floyd Mayweather at one time and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what it is, man. It's like people do forget that. People do forget, when you start. Like for me, I started off 30-0. You know what I mean? All the way up to that point, then I lost the I was going to say Areola, and I lost the Povetkin. And then all of a sudden, when you lose, sometimes people lose sight of how good you are. You know what I mean? And then you just become an opponent. And I think that's probably what happened to him. But then you're always looking for that opportunity to come up, and that's what he did with her. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I respect I respect that. You know what I mean? He stuck around. He said, "To hell with this, man. I took a couple losses, but I'm still here." And he got himself in there, got himself an opportunity, and took advantage of it. It's just unfortunate for her. I actually like her. You know what I mean? Tough guy.
I like Hurd a lot. The issue that I didn't understand with Hurd was he would not pick up his lead hand in the first half of that fight. He was getting killed with an overhand right repeatedly, and I never seen him make the adjustment. I'm used to Hurd fighting hands up, right style, walking you down, bombing you out of there. But then he got with a different trainer who kind of had him shoulder rolling and dipping, and he actually showed that he has ability to shoulder roll and dip and come back with shots. And now he's actually with one of Shakur Stevenson coaches, who was also in the USA boxing team. I forget his name, but he's actually know him very well by face. I just don't know him personally. And he's with this guy, and I actually asked Hurd, I said, "Hey, what have you learned now that you're with a new trainer?" And he was like, "Well, there's not much that you can really learn. I can learn at this point," which I disagree. But he said, "There's not much I can really learn at this point. I've been boxing for so long," and he basically has me going back to the fundamentals. But my thing is, you went back to the fundamentals. Why didn't you ever pick up your lead hand when you were getting bombed with a right hand, right? Isn't it fundamental to bring your left hand up and just block it, right? Like, so that's the issue I have. I don't understand, because he's a great talent, And he started to make a comeback in the fight. He started to actually look good toward the end of the fight. And that's probably why he thought he won the fight, even though a lot of people felt that he didn't. But he just never picked his lead hand up when he needed to. He was just getting hit repeatedly with the right hand. It was crazy. I got video on my phone because I was right there recording. I'm like, God damn, pick that hand up. You feel me?
Yeah. Well, the inability to adjust, sometimes, man, it's just like you follow someone's lead to a fault. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was the plan. Like, man, you got to keep that hand down. You got to just deal with what comes. There's going to be opportunities based on it. And it's like, look, Floyd Mayweather is probably the most famous person using that style. Everybody knows Floyd did that. I mean, obviously, James Toney, a little lesser known than Floyd, but one of the greatest ever, was one of the that he was smooth with it, even though he took a little bit more punches than he needed to with it. But I love James' shoulder roll style. But most people know Floyd did. But I'm gonna tell you, even James picked his fucking left hand up.
Right.
And James is a dude, I'll take a punch. He was taking shots from heavyweights in the end of his career. Understand that. And never been knocked out. So what I'm saying is, if even he picks his hand up, then you need to pick your fucking hand up. You understand what I'm saying? Look, you've been boxing all this time. You've had all kind of experience. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're okay when we leave that ring. If you continue to let a punch hit you in the face repeatedly, something is wrong, right? You had to pick. Somebody just said it too. You had to switch to high guard. At some point, you got to pick your hands up. If it's not working, it's not working. You got to make an adjustment, even if you still lose the fight. Even if you're not able to make the adjustment offensively, you got to make it defensively. You know what I'm saying? Or get out, or sit on a stool and get out the ring before you get killed. Because that's what happens, man. There's guys take those punches to the head off like that and end up, some of them dying at the end of the fight. And it's like, it's crazy, man. Pick your motherfucking hands up. We wouldn't be having this.
I tell guys that how many times, and we did a course together called the Philly Shell System, which is one of the best courses. And like I said, use the CA Power Hour, you get it 75% off if you don't already got it. But even then, we talk about it, how if the shoulder roll is not working, pick your fucking hand up, right? Like, and a lot of the times with the shoulder roll, guys feel that they need to stay in a shoulder roll position because now they're shoulder rolled Philly Shell fighters. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool. It's like right now, you knock a guy out with the left hook. Boom, you put him out. Now every fight you want to throw nothing but the left hook. Like, how about we use whatever tools we need
to win
a fight we're fighting? And some guys you might be able to pull it off. Other guys you cook. That's why you learn it all. That's why you learn it all. You feel me?
That's why you learn the hands up mode most likely first. Then you learn the rest of it as you get more experience and more confidence.
This is easier and safer. So you want to always have this, right? Easily.
100%. Then when you get comfortable with that, and then you say, okay, well, now I know I can use this. Now you say, let's start to expand our knowledge of defense and different things that we can utilize. So we can use maybe pop different shots off it. With the shoulder roll, you don't have to have your right hand up. Your left hand up. So maybe we can use that, and then maybe we'll open up our right hand off of theirs, or whatever the situation. Or now you don't have to have the hand up. You can check a little bit easier from that position. So it's just like there's different things you can use it for. But if somebody got a mean right hand that's just too fast for you to catch like that, boom, you got to pick that fucking left hand up again. It's just about adjusting, man. You got to, and if you can't, even if you can't adjust offensively, you have to adjust defensively, because that's what's going to keep you alive.
That's a fact. All right, let's move on, man. Let's talk about Badu Jack now. I don't really want to talk about his fight. We saw how easily he won his fight. But what I do want to talk about is his original opponent, Jean Pascal, testing positive on steroids.
I think again, right?
I don't know if he tested positive more than once, but he definitely tested positive, I think, for 3 steroids. And so it's like, what are your thoughts on Jean Pascal, and what are your thoughts about guys testing positive for steroids? how does it make you feel? And just what is your thoughts overall? You know what I mean? I know we don't like to bash a man when he's down, pause, but at the end of the day, we need to discuss this. Go ahead.
What's fair is fair, man. It's like, there's rules in place for a reason. When you try to bend those rules, you know what I'm saying, or break them, and you get caught, you got to deal with the repercussions of them. And I think a lot of times, when these things are as dangerous, they can be very, very dangerous. You know what I mean? They can put you at such an advantage that you get in there with somebody and maybe possibly kill them. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's that extreme. You know what I mean? I don't know if there was a guy that was on steroids that actually killed somebody because he was on steroids. I don't know if that's the case. But these rules are in place for a reason. So you got to abide by them. You got what I mean? I don't take anything. You know what I mean? Look at me. Did I look like I took anything? You know what I mean? I went to the UK and got strong, got big, but that was from literally working 3 times a day, lifting almost every day, 6 days a week, eating a ridiculous amount of food to become a real live heavyweight. There was a lot of work that went into that. I was sore every day for a month and a half. I could barely even sleep. That's how hard I had to work to get that much weight on correctly, right? But I did it naturally. You understand what I'm saying? And I worked really, really hard to do it. When you sitting and I'm not saying these guys aren't trained. I'm not saying they're not lifting. I'm not saying they're not working hard. But when you're taking this stuff and you're taking crazy different, all these like 3 different ones, like, dude, what are you trying to do? I guess you're trying to make sure you secure that win, huh? You know what I'm saying? And you have to. I have nothing against Pascal. I don't know, but it's just in my opinion, it's a little dangerous. It's messed up to the other fighter. It's got to deal with it.
Do you think that he should be banned for life? Because people are saying that he should be banned for life. I mean, I actually had an opportunity to interview Badu Jack, and he told me out of his own mouth that he feels he should be in jail. I mean, that was his actual words. He feels like he should be in jail, and he also feels that this isn't the first time that he's done it, because nobody just tries 3 different PEDs for the first time. Typically, this is something that they have experience with. So do you think that maybe he used it when he beat Marcus Brown, or New York native boxer, who was the champion, when he beat him? Do you think he used it in other fights that he looked good in? What do you think?
If you tested positive once, all it takes is one mistake. Now, I'm not trying to put a moral on his career and say, oh man, he's he ain't really won any of these fights. I'm not going to say any of that because I don't know. But I will say, if you've done it once, you definitely did it before. You just got caught once. You know what I'm saying? Just like there's other fighters who are really, really smart, who got tons of information on the stuff and they know how to take it. You know what I mean? There's at one point I was talking to credible sources. It was telling me that pretty much 80% of the high level fighters in the sport, well, let's just say, I'll say heavyweights at the time, was without a doubt taking them things.
Wow, 80%?
80% of especially the elites. You know what I'm saying? Most people look at people who are clean like, really? Like, why? You ain't getting, you know what I mean? You going in there with these unclean dudes every night, which I was doing.
Pause.
Pause. Yeah.
Oh my God. You was going in with unclean dudes.
Clean. I was talking about steroids,
bro.
I was talking about needles in the ass, not the other thing.
Needles in what?
I said needles. Needles. Like the injections. Pull. Say pull.
Oh my God. All right, good.
No, but I'm just saying. But it's just like, I know I fought some dudes fought some guys that weren't clean.
Yeah, there you go.
We were swapping punches, but no, real talk. And I know they weren't. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell necessarily by, whether they landed shots or not, but with the pauses. But real talk is like, I know they weren't. Not just from somebody telling me, but sometimes you can feel it, sometimes you can't. Pause. Pause, man. but
I'm
for
done.
real, and I'm telling you, man, I saw you can see these dudes with some of these. They have big. No, stop, man. Stop it. But listen, they got like you see the dudes that got big bellies with the 6-pack on top of it. I don't care. I'm telling the truth, dog. That's some of that shit is like that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just a lot of crazy stuff, man, that I seen in this business, and I was experiencing fighting some of these guys, sparring with some of these dudes, man. It just didn't feel natural sometimes. But I stuck around. I was able to survive through skills. But it's just not fair, man. You gotta compete with dudes that ain't right. It's not cool.
No. It's definitely not cool, man. And I think Floyd was onto something with the Olympic style testing when he was pushing that against Pacquiao. I think that's something that should be enforced, even in these exhibitions. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say Jake and Logan Paul aren't taking something just to look good in their lives, and then they go into a fight? You know what I mean? With
155 pounder. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know kids right now that are taking SARMs and taking all these different things that you can get over the counter just so they can, harden up, pause. You feel me? And they can kind of look good in the gym. I mean, these are guys that just want to have muscles and everything else. Who's to say you're not taking these things and then it's helping you in performance in a boxing match? And in reality, you were just taking it just to look good, and now you're actually getting a celebrity match. So, there should be some testing, and also we need to be a little bit more specific on what's technically a PED. I mean, I've heard guys are getting tested positive for PEDs for stuff that isn't real, really.
It's not performance.
Yeah, it's not even really it might just be something like something they're taking that isn't regulated. So that whole regulation thing needs to be evaluated, and then it needs to be done regularly for every fight, not just world championship fights, not just $1 million fights. It should be at the lowest level. Even these fights in Mexico that you never hear about, in Wyoming, that like everybody should be just getting tested. If you're a professional athlete, you should just be getting tested for it. You know what I'm saying?
Without a doubt. Sometimes though, I know they're probably talking about how much these things cost and all that. But look, let me tell you something. At the lowest level to the highest level, people can get hurt. So none of that shit matters. Anybody, you got kids. You know what I mean? Maybe you are somebody's kid and you getting in there. You know what I'm saying? You deserve to be safe, just like somebody who got millions of dollars. Spend the money. Do what you got to do. Make sure these dudes are safe, man. Make sure this shit is policed properly. You understand? It should be. All things should. All of these things, all these sports should be. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we take our lives in our hands. I mean, and we putting it out. We putting it out there. We putting it on the line. It's only right.
That's a fact. All right, listen, we're gonna end this real quick with I'm gonna go ahead and put this link in the clipboard. If you guys have the heart to come in, chime in with us, I'm gonna give you guys like, I don't know, maybe a minute, 2 minutes max, you know what I mean? To see how many people want to come in. If you want to ask Eddie a question, this is a great time to pick Eddie's brain. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna put the link in the description right there. I always like to chop it up with y'all. If you're not scared, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of y'all nervous over, you know what I mean? Y'all scared to get on the big stage, I'm just talking crap. But yeah, man, click that link, you know what I'm saying? Hop in here with us, say a few words, tell me what y'all thought about recent events. But yeah, Eddie, man, it's crazy, man. Right now, so much has happened in boxing. I don't know if I missed something. I might have missed something, to keep it a buck. It's hard for me to keep up with everything that's going on. We got a lot to talk about of upcoming stuff too. You know what I mean? We got Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, but we're gonna save that. We're gonna talk some more about Pacquiao, Errol Spence. We're gonna save that. We're gonna talk about those things. But boxing's at an all-time high right now, as of recently, right? Not all-time high. Let me rephrase. It's at a high. A lot of people are
paying attention,
are not realizing that we're actually in a great place for boxing right now. Boxing has a lot of good stuff going on. I mean, just anything, you know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and let's bring my guy in here. We got somebody who chiming in. What's good, champ? Talk to us, state your name, and let us know what's on your mind.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
What's up, brother?
What's going on? I'm my last Puma named Dwayne. But I want to know what you think about the Errol Spence and Pacquiao fights what happened in August.
All right, go ahead, Eddie. I'll let you handle that real quick.
That's I'm gonna have to go with Spence. You know what I mean? And the reason is even though Pacquiao still seems to have the speed and he's still active, he still seems strong, he still seems, like he's still Pacquiao to a degree. I just think Spence at this point, even after the accident, still looks like he's live enough. He's busy, he's strong, he's big, kind of similar, but not so to like the Jeff Horn thing, which kind of gave Pacquiao problems, being that Jeff Horn was big and a little awkward. Spence is, I think, a complete offensive guy. Throws a lot of punches and strong and big too, of course. So yeah. I think that's going to make. I think at the end of the day, that's going to probably be the difference in the fight, especially once if it gets late in the fight.
Yeah, man. As for me, man, I think that Errol Spence should win if we want to base it off of what we know. But it's very hard to go against Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has shown that he has 9 lives. He's shown that he's extremely awkward himself. Every time I've ever bet against Manny Pacquiao, I lost. Throughout the history of me always thinking that I thought he would lose to De La Hoya. I thought that he would lose to a couple of other guys. I forget off the top of my head, but every time I doubted him, man, he come out and I thought he would lose to Thurman. He beat Thurman. But Manny Pacquiao is a legend. I hate to go against the legends, but if I had to put money on it, I'm going to put my money on Spence. But I'm not going to root for Spence on this one. I got to root for the legend. It hurts my heart to see a guy like a Manny Pacquiao who has done so much in the game go out like that. If he happens to go out on his stool, because we know Pacquiao going to go out. Whether he gets knocked out or whatever the case may be. We know that Manny Pacquiao is not somebody who's going to lay down easily. You feel what I'm saying? So I hate to see him lose to a young guy, but at the end of the day, it's boxing. It is what it is. You feel me? Yeah, man. But let us know your prediction before we move on, brother.
I'm not a Spence fan. I like Crawford. I just think Spence is kind of flat-footed. He can box, but I think he's flat-footed. He's flat-footed and slow, but I can be wrong because he might fight Pacquiao different. I think he's safer with Spence than he is with Terrence Crawford to me. But like I said, my opinion, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you might be right. Listen, Pacquiao is super fast still. He's awkward. We know he can crack. We know he has experience. We know he has heart. We know he's going to show up to fight. Errol Spence is there to be hit. There's no doubt about it. He is there to be hit. But the issue is the youth. And I don't really know how well Pacquiao is going to do on the inside if it goes there. Pacquiao, to me, is a guy who needs some space. He's a guy who needs to be able to get in and get out. And we know that Errol Spence is good at putting the pressure on, getting close, and fighting you on the inside. But if he underestimates Pacquiao at any point, it could be the biggest mistake in his career.
Well,
I look at this Sean Porter fight, and I think Sean Porter, he did excellent against him. And I'm thinking like, if Sean Porter can do it, even though the styles are different, Pacquiao's fast. He hits harder than Sean. And if he catch Earl clean, he gonna put him down. That's my opinion. I think because it's like when he counter punches, he might throw him in 3s and 4s. He don't just throw one punch for a counter punch.
That's true. I like that. I like that assessment of it. But we also know that Errol Spence is that same way. Errol Spence doesn't have a lot of flashy things that goes on with his game, to be honest. Errol Spence is a guy that just wins. He's busy. He's on you the entire fight. You see what happened with Danny. You can't be, and this is a good thing for Pacquiao, is you can't be a guy that waits on a shot. You got to just let him go. Because
Danny, I don't really. To me, Danny is not all that. To me, what way has he beat? To me,
Danny, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that he's on the level of a Pacquiao or anything like that. But what I am saying is that looking at that fight and how he was able to just basically make Danny wait all night for a perfect shot because he wasn't going to get it because Spence was on his ass.
Well, Danny
that's what I'm saying. Pacquiao was going to be facing on the night. Plus, he's big. Pause.
Thank you.
And that makes it it's going to make it a little bit difficult. If you watch the Jeff Horn fight, Jeff Horn was a bigger welterweight, awkward, sloppy a little bit, gave Pacquiao issues.
Yeah.
People were saying, "Oh, Pacquiao, old, blah blah blah." No, I'm not saying that he wasn't old, but it was the style. I still thought Pacquiao won the fight, but the style gave him issues. Right. So it's like when you look at Spence. Spence is like a Jeff Horn on steroids. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So a Jeff Horn on steroids, what is that going to be to Pacquiao at this point? He's still Pacquiao, but he is a little bit older, and he's dealing with a better fighter this time.
Right.
All right. Well, that's what's up, man. Yo, thank you, my brother, for logging in.
All right.
And I already appreciate your love and support. You already know.
Oh, y'all take it easy.
All right, brother. All right, we got Coach Anthony here.
Coach Anthony.
Yeah, we got Coach Anthony. That's the name that I see on the screen.
You know that dude is.
Coach Anthony got better internet than that. I don't know, man. You frozen.
Whatever.
My man got no internet right now.
Internet. Coach internet should be better than that.
My man internet crazy right now. You got to fix the internet and come back, champ. Yeah, man. But yeah, man. That's gonna be a whole nother. That's gonna be a whole nother conversation, man. When we lead up closer to the fight, and that's gonna be the Errol Spence Pacquiao thing. You know what I mean? We're gonna save that for a future date. But that's a hell of a fight, man. I don't think Pacquiao should be overlooked. I do think that a lot of people might be. I think a lot of people are either overestimating Pacquiao or underestimating Pacquiao in this fight. It's kind of like there's no in between. Either people think Pacquiao going to dominate, or people think that Pacquiao going to get dominated. And I just think it's one of those fights that can really go either way. But you have to go with the data of history, which always shows that the younger guy usually prevails in these situations when they're the truth. And we know that Errol Spence is the truth. But with that being said, Pacquiao is a freaking legend. You feel what I'm saying? He's a legend. You know what I mean? So it's hard to go against the greats, man. The greats have proven time and time again when it's time to be great, they know how to do it. Let's see if this Coach Anthony guy talks this time. What's up, champ?
Coach Ant, what's up?
What's up, man? You mean that? You Coach Ant?
It was good, man.
Huh?
It was good, Coach Ant.
All right, so what's up, Tiffany? How you been? You good?
I've been good, just training, you know. I just hopped there because I wanted to talk to Eddie. I needed some of that professional work, man.
Oh my God!
I know you. Last time you seen me, it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to get punched on right now, but no, I help you out, man. Like, man, look, I don't turn down nothing, man. Not especially not boxing. Only thing I turn down is this damn collar. That's it.
You gotta pay for that work, man. That work ain't free.
But I will say, yeah.
I just need some professional.
You gotta put that. Yeah, listen. You want to spar? You gotta pay. You gotta pay to spar the champ.
You gotta pay to put hands on me, man.
You gotta pay to spar the champ.
You want to beat me up? You want to beat me up? We're gonna cause you to beat me up. You know what I mean?
That's gonna be you putting hands on me.
That may be a byproduct of it, man. That's just a byproduct of it. You know what I mean? And most people ain't worried about me putting my hands on them. I don't punch hard. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So it's like I'm just gonna be like wiping the sweat off your face. You know what I'm saying? No, but no.
Man, yeah, slide. You already know the slide in there, and we'll set something up, man.
Yeah. Ain't no thing, man. I need to get back in there.
Okay, definitely.
All right, champ. Good seeing you, my brother.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Eddie, you got guys wanting to spar you, man. That's how you know it's time to stay sharp. These guys want to test you, man, when they think that you chilling. You know what I'm saying? That's when they want to test you, when they think you chilling, Eddie. When they think that you cooled out, you just relaxing. They're like, all right, now it's my time to whoop the old fighter's ass and get that name under my belt. You know what I mean? That's why you always gotta be ready. You always gotta be sharp, man. These guys just wait.
That's smart, though. You know what I mean? If you're gonna wait, if you're gonna do it at the right time.
Yeah, dude. Boxing's all about time. Life is about timing. Life is about timing, you feel me? But guys, man, I want to thank everybody who hopped on, man. We was on here for an hour and a half. I think that's a good amount of time. Don't forget to go to the website, CoachAnthonyBoxing.com. We got all the courses right now. The CA Power Hour will get them to you for 75% off. You have a chance to still get it. We got the How to Box the Opposite Stance. We got the complete Philly shell system. We got 150 combinations, 50 head, 50 body, 50 head and body. We got the angles and how to create them. We got the how to set traps and counterpunch. Ain't nobody out here teaching the way we're putting these videos together and giving you this much information for this price. I mean, it took Eddie over 20 years and myself 20 years of being committed to learning this game, the craft, and teaching this stuff the right way. And, you know, we're in a digital age now. You can literally be in your bed, pause, watching these videos, soaking up the knowledge, you know what I'm saying, and then going to the gym the next day and applying it. You can design programs off of it. Everything in my website right now got PDFs. It got everything that'll help you get prepared. And, of course, I always recommend that you have a real trainer helping you with this stuff, but there's nothing wrong with getting an extra set of, you know, information from credible people in the game. And I'm happy to have a guy like you, Eddie, as the demonstrating partner on these courses. I mean, don't get much more credible than you. You feel what I'm saying? But
I enjoy it.
You already know, guys. I want to say thank you so much, and we're going to finish off with that How to Box the Opposite Stance commercial, man. You already know, boxing life. Everybody wants to know how to box a southpaw. Everybody who's a southpaw wants to learn how to box the opposite stance. We're going to get into it. We're going to give away all the secrets. We're going to teach you so many great things, man. And luckily, we got a guy right here who can box both stands, orthodox and southpaw, and fast in the chambers. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to learn a lot. You guys made a very wise decision, so let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it.